interested in revenge.
Looks like we found a real animatronic.
The Return to Bloody Nights is a brand new FNAF fan game set in Fredbear's family diner. The game released a little under 2 weeks ago, and after seeing the praise it was receiving from other YouTubers, I just had to check it out for myself. The Game Jolt page states this game takes its own unique twist on the timeline and crucial events of the FNAF series. In that same description, the game is also said to combine the old atmosphere and gameplay of the previous FNAF titles with new mechanics, bringing out the best elements of the official games. Just from what we can see on the Game Jolt page, it looks like this fan game is going to be something truly special. So let's not waste any more time and jump straight into The Return to Bloody Nights to see if this brand new FNAF fan game is really as good as people say. As soon as we start the game, we get a short cutscene which puts us in the perspective of a performer at Fredbear's family diner. We can look around through Fredbear's mask as we see Spring Bonnie performing on stage, before the door shuts and our screen fades to black. This isn't the last interactable scene we'll see in the game though, which is really cool. I always love when fan games include small stuff like this. After that, we load into the main menu, which is very unique for a fan game. It reminds me a lot of the Left 4 Dead menus, if you guys have ever played those games. Anyways, after clicking new game, we begin our very first night. Before this though, we get a cutscene. This cutscene shows us a phone as we overhear a phone call between William and Henry. William tells Henry that his animatronics are doing well and that he's excited to open his new restaurant. He claims he's a little jealous and hopes his place is as successful as Freddy's. Henry then brings up concerns about safety as there has been a few incidents where animatronics malfunctioned and harmed visitors. William says he understands the concerns and is being very cautious with the production of the new animatronics. He promises to not rush the making of these animatronics and tells Henry to trust him. They then end off the phone call on good terms and our first day of the job begins. We will continue to hear this conversation between William and Henry as the game progresses, which is a really great way to tell the story in my opinion. So stick to the end of the video to see where everything leads to. Before night 1, we get this really cool loading screen before the night, which tells us the day of the week along with the animatronics we are facing. So for Monday, we will only be facing against Spring Bonnie. As our shift begins, we immediately get a pre-recorded message from the CEO of Fazbear Entertainment. The CEO gives us the normal night 1 talk, telling us about contracts, pay, and also informs us how to stay safe from the animatronics. We are also informed that we have doors to our left and right. Next to these doors is a button which we will use to close them, and we also have a flashlight we can use to shine down the hallways. Behind us is a music box which will come into play later, and on our desk is a camera system. With this camera, we can watch over the 2 main animatronics of the establishment, Spring Bonnie and Fredbear. The CEO tells us to shut the door when one of the animatronics is near our office before sending us out on our own to survive the rest of the night. Now, night 1 is not difficult in the slightest. We get a chance to get a hang of the controls as well as take in the environment that the game takes place in. And I just love the sheer amount of detail put into this game. Things like photos of Henry and William, certificates, and William's family photos being included really sparks life into the office and makes it feel more meaningful. Oh yeah, and they also have these things. One thing I need to give this game praise for that not a lot of other fan games do is this game has really great ambience. It really reminds me of the feeling I got while I played FNAF 1. There are so many red herring sound effects to throw you off and make you feel like you're in danger. This does a great job at making you always on edge, even if you do know where all of the animatronics are. Another terrifying detail this game has is its animations on the cameras. When watching over Fredbear and Spring Bonnie, they can be seen moving and twitching around, which helps sell the idea to the player that these animatronics are really malfunctioning. Once we reach 6 AM, our very first shift concludes. However, there is still one thing we need to do before moving on to night 2. After the 6 AM screen, we are then placed in front of Fredbear with a device which I assume is for finding spirits. We use it to scan the animatronic. We can use our mouse to drag the machine all over the animatronic's body in hopes to see if the machine will go off. Eventually though, nothing happens and the screen fades to black as we move on to night 2. During the Night 2 phone call, Henry asks William for an update on the animatronics' progress. William tells Henry everything is going well and claims that he is very confident in meeting the deadline of the opening day.
The animatronics are on track, and I'm confident about meeting our opening date.
Henry once again reminds William about safety and expresses his concerns that William may be rushing the development of the animatronics.
Pressure to meet the deadline might cause you to rush things. I understand your concern, but rest assured that safety is always my top priority. I know what I'm doing, and I won't take any unnecessary risks.
William seems to not be worried though and dismisses Henry's worries. Henry offers William help and advice, but William declines and the call concludes. After that, Night 2 begins, and from the loading screen we can see one new animatronic has been introduced, that being Fredbear. We once again get a pre-recorded message from the CEO, and in this message he tells us about the animatronic's second feature, this feature being that you can wear the animatronics like a costume. He then tells us about the potential danger of a spring lock failure occurring and advises us to not wear the suits as it may be too dangerous, although he doesn't really tell us that in the nicest way possible.
We had an incident with one of our employees not too long ago. Poor guy ended up in a hospital bed with his legs crushed. It's tragic, but informative. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't try it out if you're feeling brave, but just know that if something goes wrong, it's on you. Actually, don't even touch him. We're not taking any responsibility here.
After this, we are told that a new animatronic has been introduced and that this one is actually made by Henry Emily himself. This animatronic he is referring to is actually the puppet and not Fredbear, who can be found directly behind us. The phone guy doesn't tell us how to deal with it though, instead telling us he's gonna go get some sleep before ending the recording.
Yeah, gonna go get some shut-eye. Talk to you tomorrow.
Yeah, thanks a lot, dude. So just tell me he's in my office and don't tell me what to do about it. On a serious note though, one thing I actually like about this phone guy is he has a personality. Instead of just serving as exposition like most phone guys do, this one actually shows some character, which adds a lot to the game. Night 2 goes by very slowly. We must watch over both Spring Bonnie and Fredbear as they move around on the cameras, and both of them share the same gameplay, so just think of them as Bonnie and Chica from FNAF 1. With one coming from the left door and the other one coming from the right. These nights are 8 minutes long, which led to this being extremely boring for a Night 2. Luckily though, the renders used for the animatronics in this game are absolutely amazing. Much like FNAF 1, the game uses interesting angles and poses to make the animatronics appear as threatening as possible. Some of these poses are very creepy, which I appreciate as I feel like this is something that goes overlooked in a lot of fan games. Sure, it can be creepy to just have an animatronic standing in the room, but it's much scarier if you have them peeking around the corner or covering their face with their hands. This level of attention to detail really makes me think that the developers understood what made the original FNAF so scary in the first place. What's also really scary is how the animatronics appear when they are actually at your door. Instead of just standing there when you flash the light, in this game the animatronics now kind of spring forward into your line of sight, which makes it a lot creepier when they appear, and also sometimes actually made me jump. Now, despite the phone guy mentioning the puppet being introduced, they are not actually active during this night, so we just need to survive against Fredbear and Spring Bonnie until 6 AM rolls around. After 6 AM, we once again do another investigation on the animatronics, this time scanning Spring Bonnie for any spirits. Just like Night 1, we get no definitive proof that these animatronics are haunted, and end up leaving without seeing the machine go off. The Night 3 phone call begins with Henry giving William a friendly greeting. Henry tells William that after the employees got to see the new animatronic prototypes, they claimed they were too scary and too robotic looking.
I heard that some of the employees saw a preview of the new animatronics design and they were a bit concerned that they looked a little too scary and robotic. What were your thoughts on that?
William reassures Henry that these are a work in progress and that they will be more child-friendly when they are complete. William says he's been studying child psychology, which will aid him in his goal of creating safe and positive animatronics. Henry tells William that he trusts him and then asks how he's holding up with his recent divorce. William claims he's been going through a rough time, but is doing his best to just focus on his work and his children.
It's been a difficult time, Henry. I won't lie about that. but I'm doing my best to keep my focus on my work and my children. They're the most important thing to me.
Henry tells William that his daughter Charlotte is also very important to him, and tells William to take some time to himself if he really needs it. William says he will take care of himself and his work, and they once again end the call on a positive note.
I'll try to take care of myself as well, and my work, too. No problem, William. We'll talk again soon. Take care. You too, Henry.
Night 3 then loads up, and we can see the third animatronic has been introduced, that being Spring Bonnie 2.0, the one we just heard about on the phone. We then receive another pre-recorded message from the CEO. This time he thanks us for our dedication before asking us if we've seen anything weird going on in the pizzeria. The CEO then goes on about the ball pit being a time machine or something, which I think is a reference to one of the FNAF books. You guys will have to let me know down below though, cause I haven't got around to reading any of those yet. After that though, he asks us if we could be the voice of the instruction tapes for the spring lock technology, before telling us good luck with the night and ending the call. For Night 3's gameplay, during this night the puppet actually begins attacking. Every once in a while the puppet will begin climbing out of the box, which will be notified to you with a sound cue of a bell ringing. Every time they do this, you will need to turn around and shine your light on them in order to get them back in the box. Failing to do this, however, will result in us getting jump scared. However, this is not your typical jump scare. Instead, the puppet just appears in front of you and begins laughing, which is honestly a lot creepier than just screaming in your face. Whoever did the voice acting on this laugh, I mean, you gotta give it to them, they really went for it. During this night, Golden Freddy also began appearing. Golden Freddy will every once in a while appear as a transparent figure at the end of the left hallway. He will slowly move closer to us before appearing right in front of the door, which is when we will need to close it. This adds a lot of stress to the night, as while we're busy monitoring the puppet and watching the cameras, we now must also be checking on Golden Freddy from time to time. Golden Freddy also has this glitched out voice effect he will play when present in the hallway, which not only sounds very creepy, but also serves as a distraction to the player, making it harder to hear the other necessary sound cues. Night 3 is actually where I started taking my first couple of deaths, which really got me good. The jump scares in this game are really abrupt and well animated, which when paired with the loud noises leads to a very startling jump scare. One thing really good about these jump scares is there is actually a different animation if you are staring at the door. So let's say I'm staring at the right doorway and I get jump scared, then I'm gonna see something like this. After reaching 6 AM, we do our routine animatronic check, this time on the brand new Spring Bonnie 2.0 that William recently built. We scan all around the animatronic, and surprisingly once again get no sign of anything out of the ordinary. The scene then once again fades to black, and we begin Night 4. During the Night 4 phone call, William tells Henry that they are on track for a successful opening tomorrow. Henry once again brings up the safety measures, and William responds reassuring Henry that he has taken safety into account. William seems very angry over the phone this time, commenting on the impact the divorce had on his family.
Michael is too busy being a typical rebellious teenager. Devon is just a young child who doesn't understand the situation. Frankly, I'd rather keep my distance from them for the time being. They're at home at the moment.
Henry expresses his worries for William, telling him he hopes he is okay. William thanks him for these concerns and tells him he will talk to him soon. This kicks off Night 4. The pre-recorded message begins once again, and the CEO begins making more references to the FNAF books, I'm pretty sure.
I slept like a rock last night, but I woke up feeling like I got hit by a truck. I had this weird dream where I was half robot, half human, and let me tell you, it wasn't pretty. My legs were replaced with rusty old scrap metal, and I was clunking around like some kind of junkyard Frankenstein. Can you imagine me like that? Talk about a nightmare.
The CEO then tells us that the new prototypes are in the building, and once again tells us to stay safe. He is then abruptly interrupted by another employee, who informs him that all of the restaurants will be closed for an investigation after one of the founders had been convicted of a crime. The CEO then tells us that the closure of the restaurants won't interfere with our schedule and tells us to get back to work. Now, despite no new animatronics being introduced during this night, it is extremely chaotic. The AI is very active during this night, which makes you have to be alert for the entire 8 minutes. The more active AI also led to a very close call when I completed the night thanks to the generator heat mechanic. Basically, the generator heat will go up when you have a door closed and will go up even faster if both of them are closed. If the generator heat bar reaches its max, then the power will go out, resulting in your death. This makes you manage when you close your doors a lot more responsibly, which can be very difficult when animatronics like Fredbear like to stay at the door for a really long time. Thanks to that, I barely was able to pass night 4 with just a little bit of generator heat left to spare. This was a great night. The tension was very high and it was super chaotic, but it wasn't too hard to the point of being impossible. So good job to the developers for balancing this night. For the post-night investigation, we scanned the Fredbear animatronic, and surprisingly this time the machine actually begins to act up, shaking rapidly when we point it at Fredbear's head. Our character then suddenly turns to see that we are being monitored by another person in the building, presumably William, before the scene suddenly cuts to black. During the 5th and final call between Henry and William, Henry expresses his condolences to William. Henry tells William he is sorry and asks if there is anything he can do. William then has an outburst towards Henry, telling him that he has no idea what he is going through and cannot relate to the feeling of losing a child.
You have no idea what it's like to lose a child. You have a perfect life. You're a happy family. You don't know anything. You don't know how I feel right now. I'm sorry, William. I just... Enough! Enough!
You can tell during this phone call that the death of William's child has changed him forever. After that, we get another message from the CEO, who explains that 6 children have gone missing, which is the reason the establishments have been closing down. We are then left to survive the 5th and final night of the game. Once again, no new threats are added to the night, so we will be facing off against the same 5, only with increased AI. Specifically, the puppet is now a lot more active and is moving very frequently, as well as Fredbear, who will be appearing at your left door a lot. One thing that started getting really annoying during this night was actually Fredbear's mechanic. Sometimes Fredbear will stay at your door for a very long time even after you close it on him. It is completely random how long he will stay at your door, and sometimes if he decides to stay there long enough, you will run out of generator heat and lose. There is absolutely nothing you can do when this happens, so it really feels like your win is in the hands of the RNG gods. I could be doing something wrong here, but from every playthrough I've seen, this is how the game is. So let me know in the comments if you guys have any solutions to this. After just barely escaping night 5 with our life, we get the first of 3 endings this game has to offer.
It has been many years since the incident that changed everything. I have done unforgivable things since then. The missing children, it was all my doing. My animatronics were always meant to be more than mere entertainers. They were created to wield fear, to evoke terror, and bring forth the ultimate consequence: death. And then there was Charlotte, Henry's daughter. I could not bear to see him bask in all his happiness and receive all the credit for our work. My jealousy consumed me, and I had to take matters into my own hands. I meticulously crafted the evidence to make it appear as though Henry was the one responsible, for I had bigger plans in mind. Plans that require my full attention and dedication. I have built a new place for my new creations. A place that will instill wonder and fear into the heart of all who bear witness. And soon, I will reveal what is coming next.
So yeah, that is our very first ending of the game, which is just such a cool ending in my opinion. I love the fact that this game lets us see the events that led to William becoming the villain he is later in the series, and the tie back to Sister Location was absolutely perfect in my opinion. This game really just helps tie all of the other FNAF game stories together in a way that's easier to understand. This isn't the only ending though, as the game actually features an extremely hard and RNG based Night 6, which if completed earns you yet another cutscene. In this cutscene, we are shown one of the missing children, with text that reads, "There was someone that night. I called for help, but no one came for me. Now I feel different. I can't disappear, not now. I found others who are just like me. They need my help. I must guide them. I will give them their happiest day." This ending, while not adding much more detail, gives us a peek at the events that happened after the missing children's incident, showing us Henry's daughter Charlotte, who went on to become the puppet, and letting us see Charlotte's plan to help the other missing children find their happiest day. After this ending, we also get to see our paycheck, which has a few hidden details. Firstly, our main character's name is Scott Cawthon, which I guess makes sense when you remember that our character was asked to record the voiceovers for Fazbear Entertainment. We can also see the original FNAF in real life hoax image used in the newspaper, as well as our actual pay, which was $99. For the third and final ending, when completing 420 mode in the custom night, we get this cutscene right here.
I found this. I made it. All of this was done in order to find something that even Henry couldn't understand. The last ingredient. Something called the spark of life. The most terrible accidents bear the most beautiful fruits. They serve their lives for a greater purpose. Recreating the accident. That is the duty and honor of science. Reproduce the experiment and get the same results? I gave my whole life to this experiment. Piece by piece. The spirit follows the flesh, it would seem. And also the pain. If I wish to become my own immortal creation, my body must lead my spirit to its immortal home. And that time has come. I have finally achieved what I've been waiting for a long time. You thought you would kill me this way and finally be free. By imprisoning me in this body, you only did me a favor. You just gave me a second life that I always wanted to have. I am immortal now, Michael. Running away will get you nowhere now, my son. You may not recognize me at first, but I assure you, it's still me.
Look at that. Looks like we found a real animatronic there. What happened to the power? I better go check the electrical
Now, this cutscene is cool and all, but I really think this should have been handled a little differently. I think that it is really sick that Springtrap is finally being revealed, and the fact that we are getting a Return to Bloody Nights 2 that is a remake of FNAF 3 is beyond hype. But where my problem comes in is the way it was revealed. Springtrap is far too big of a reveal and way too relevant to the game to be hidden away in a cutscene for completing 420 mode. A mode that a very small percentage of players will actually complete. I think think they should have found a way to tie this in with the night 5 or 6 ending, that way more players would actually be able to see it. Other than that though, the actual reveal is sick, and I am beyond excited for the Return to Bloody Nights 2 whenever that releases. Overall, I think that the Return to Bloody Nights is an amazing FNAF fan game. The gameplay is scary and has a lot of tension, which will keep you on edge when you're playing. There is enough challenge and extra modes to keep hardcore fans invested, and also tons of story content in the form of cutscenes, audio recordings, and Easter eggs, which all tell a very concise and interesting narrative. The presentation, graphics, animation, music, sound effects are all done perfectly, working together to create an uneasy atmosphere throughout the entire game. There is also tons of extra content which is unlockable through the 6th night, as well as a fully fleshed out custom night for anyone insane enough to attempt it. Other than a few frustrating deaths that felt like they were in the hands of RNG, there is really nothing wrong with this fan game. I thoroughly enjoyed my time playing this and think that any fan of the series would be able to find something of value here, whether you're a person who likes the story more or someone who focuses on gameplay. Let me know what you guys thought of the game though, and as always, I will see you in the next one. Peace.